This is the video with directions for how to make the 4-flap foldable. You will use this foldable to do the 4-flap worksheets, and it will summarize a good majority of the information in our chapter. And you probably want to pause the video so you can fold your paper in, and also you can number or letter these. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to fill them out in that order. And you also probably want to cut along here so that you actually have 4 flaps. Not necessary, but that's the idea. So I'll be giving you the notes for what to write inside of here, and you're going to want to open up each flap, and all the information that you see is going to go inside the foldable. So the 4 topics that I'm going to give you notes for are how to write isotopic notation, how to determine the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons, how to determine the number of energy levels, valence electrons, another element with the same valence, and how to draw Bohr models. And we're actually going to do this one first, because when you fold it in, this becomes your first flap. Alright, the first flap was how to determine protons, neutrons, and electrons. We're writing in the upper left-hand corner. The number of protons is very easy to determine. You just look at the atomic number found on the periodic table. In our classroom, the atomic number is in blue, and it is the number that is not a decimal. The protons and neutrons are equal because for now we are saying these atoms are neutral. They have no charge. So your protons, which have a positive charge, have to balance out your electrons that have a negative charge. The neutrons, that's where it's a little more complicated. When you want to find out the number of neutrons, you'll take your mass number, and I'll give you an example of what that is. If we have something called carbon-13, we see that this particular carbon example has a mass number of 13. It's found after the dash. And then if we were to look on the periodic table for carbon, we would see that it has 6 protons. So if we needed to know the mass or the neutrons for this, we would take our 13 mass number, subtract our 6 protons, and we would have 7 neutrons. So that's a little more complicated how you have to solve for the neutrons. That's flap 1. Flap 2 is called isotopic notation. And so you're just going to make a really big box. This is all you're going to write under this flap, so you don't have to be really small. Whatever your symbol is, it goes right here. So if I do an example over here to the side, we'll do carbon again. So that is our chemical symbol of carbon. And we're still going to do that same one. We're going to do carbon-13. And remember, we said the mass number was the number after the dash, and that goes in the upper left. So I would put 13 right here. And then the blue number on the periodic table, our number of protons, we said that for carbon it was 6. And so we would write that like that to the lower left. So we've got our chemical symbol, our mass number, and our atomic number, and that is isotopic notation. The third flap is here in the lower left, and this flap is how to draw Bohr models. And we have already practiced this on a worksheet, but the first thing you want to do, let's go ahead and take carbon-13 again. we've got our number of protons in the center with a plus because we said protons are positive, and we said there were 6 of them, so I'm going to write 6 plus. The next step is to add electrons to the rings. The first ring can hold 2 electrons. And then the second and third ring can go up to 8. And we don't need all 8 because we have to just get to 6. So remember, if we have 6 protons, we also have 6 electrons. And we already have 2 in the first ring, so to get to 6, we just need 4 more. And you normally keep these separated until you get to 4, and then after that you could start to make pairs. But that is how the Bohr model for carbon-13 would look. Alright, this slide says part C, but it's really part D on flap 4. And we'll redraw our carbon here. We had 6 protons. We had our 2 in our first ring. We had 4 in the second ring. And so if you were to be asked how many energy levels there are, you just count the rings. So in this example, we have 2 energy levels. The valence electrons, those are the ones in the outermost ring because they're the ones that are important when it comes to bonding. And so we would just go to our outer ring, and we see that we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4. So we would say that this atom has 4 valence electrons. And then if you were to be asked another element with the same number of valence, you simply find carbon on the periodic table, and you would just look in the same family that goes vertically, and you would see silicon underneath carbon. So silicon has the same valence as carbon.